Call the roll, please.
Al Glanville.
Here.
J.R. Huddleston.
Here.
Deborah Johnston.
Here.
Bill Lukens.
Here.
Travis Orbach.
Here.
Larry Pratt.
Here.
Gary Telkamp. Linda Varvel.
Here.
Thank you.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As always, council, remember if you have a conflict of interest, please let the rest of the council know before you vote. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Hal? Bill?
Was it Hal or Larry?
Larry.
Thank you.
Deborah? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the May 15th or May 5th council meeting?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 5th council meeting.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the bills in between?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills in between for $162,812.54.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. And can I get a motion to approve the current claims?
I make a motion to approve the current claims of $89,474.18.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Communications from the public. Is there anyone that would like to address the council tonight? Come on down.
Right here, good.
Is a microphone?
Microphone, please. And if
Your
you'd
name.
state your name and address for the record.
Brett Courtney, 27993 Cascade Road.
Brett,
Yep.
just want to give you a heads up, we do have a 7:20 public hearing.
Okay.
So we ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Brett, to confirm, Courtney, Courtney. Thank you.
Is this okay? I'm the owner of Southern Hills Septic. We bought the company in 2021. Under the time that we bought the company, part of what made it so appealing to me was that he had a track record, of dumping in the city of Hot Springs sewer plant with his business. Makes it efficient. The stuff gets disposed of properly and thoroughly through the system and everything. And so we've been taking this on for about the last 4 years. The county in Fall River County has a huge number of septic systems that require maintenance, scheduled pumpings. And we got told in the middle of January that they were going to shut that down on July 1st. And we have always been a pretty big friend of the city sewer plant. In the 4 years we've had it, they've had problems that have went on down there, and we've always lended a hand anywhere we could help out with our big pump truck and stuff. A couple of months ago, they had, I think he calls it like Restaurant Row or something down there, and he needed me to come pump with our truck, pump it all the way out and down so that way new pumps could be replaced in that part of the system down there at the septic plant. And when I pumped that, it kind of got my wheels thinking and stuff, because there's a lot of grit, there's a lot of nasty stuff that comes in through that. It might not just be restaurants, I don't know the layout of the town. But there's a lot of bad stuff that comes out in there. And when we pull up to do a septic pump, we have a mixer on the truck, so we either dig down to go to the riser or whatever, and we blend the whole septic tank, and it mixes everything up really nicely, liquefies it, and then we bring it and dispose of it at the city sewer plant in a liquidy fashion. And over the course of the last couple of years talking to Jason, if I do have a bad septic tank, I no longer service them as a customer. I no longer do any of that. If it's going to be anything that hurts the sewer system where we can dump, because we appreciate it so much. It saves us miles, time, wear and tear on our trucks. And then when we got told this in January, the matter of fact, we started looking around and nobody around here, I mean, Hermosa was coming down and dumping their sewer here for a while, and they built a new sewer system. They won't accept trucks. Rapid City won't accept trucks unless the stuff's coming from a Rapid City address. And not to mention the amount of time, wear and tear, tires that it would take on your vehicle to even take the stuff every day to Rapid City and dispose of it. We have a lot of septic systems in the county. Me and the other Black Hills septic guy are here to kind of plead our case on wanting to work with the city, if there'd be any chance of continuing that relationship, if the cost would have to go up a little bit, or anything we could do to make sure that on our end, we are willing to, put the cleanest product in there that we can. And as far as that goes, I got 2 businesses in town. I employ 4 people that live in the city of Hot Springs. We do all of our businesses locally at Nelson's, at Sturdivant's, at Bumgar's, at Ace Hardware. We can buy it in town here, we buy it in town here to support our community. I got kids that go to school here, and this is gonna have a major impact on our business to the point where we might not have a business in 2 months from now. So I just wanted to address that with you guys. Jason has always been really helpful down there. I've always gotten along with him really well, and I guess I just asking for a way to figure this out instead of just shut the door to it. And I pump a lot of septics in the county. We work with Game Fish and Parks, but all their stuff goes out there to their lagoons. So basically the only thing that we pump in town are residential septic tanks for people and holding tanks. And I think that's about all I have to cover. There is, sorry about that. Trying to think of anything else. There's so many things I could talk about and touch about on it. But I just wanted to get this out in the open and stuff, and we probably should have came sooner, so I apologize for that. So thank you guys.
I missed what's happening? Like, I didn't catch.
So we got
Are
told
you being
that
cut off?
after July 1st that the sewer plant where we dump between the hours of 7:30 and 3:30 is no longer going to be available to us.
Okay.
And I mean, just doing a little research, I think there's 7,300 plus people that live in the county. And a lot of those people are people that try to come in here to Hot Springs and move in here. But, like our town, I've lived in a lot of little towns and stuff. We don't have a bunch of new growth developments happening. We have the golf course and a few other little areas. And then there's houses that change hands. But a lot of people, new people that move in here, they're buying an acre or 2 acres or 5 acres, and they have no other choice than to have a septic system. And we do all the septic systems for the real estate sales in town with the realtors, and when that stuff comes available to no longer be able to dump it anywhere, the maintenance on the septic systems are going to go down. So in 8 years from now, if you have a house that sells, the septic system is going to be shot, and people are going to be putting in $15,000 septic systems because there's no maintenance been done to them. Like I think in Rapid City, they're really strict. They say to have your septic system pumped every 3 years. Most of our customers, depending on how they are, it's 3 to 5 years that they get it done. I have some people that have invested so much money into it that they have it done every year by us and those are the ones that are, just the easy ones to do and stuff. And as far as the really bad septic systems that we pump in a year, I would say on average it's 2 to 4. And any of those people for the last couple of years, we have not been going back to them. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brent, would you stop down at City Hall tomorrow morning if you can and talk with me?
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Gerald Colligan, 1038 Evanston Avenue.
1L or 2? CO?
2L.
Thank you.
I see on the agenda tonight the approval of setting aside $3,500 for a sprinkler system in Centennial Park. I guess as working with a group on that uses Centennial Park, just wonder when that system would be going in with all the different events that are going on in Centennial Park this morning, or this year. And maybe in the morning, we've got $12,000 that went into the fountain, and just wondering if we could possibly get a little help on elevation around the fountain from the city also, so that we wouldn't have to dig it by hand. Anyway, that was my question on when the sprinkler system would be going in with the different events that are going on at Centennial Park.
Thank you, Gerald. That'll be part of the discussion when we get to that agenda item.
How you folks doing? My name's Rick Harris. I live at 25572 Jewel Road. And I'm Black Hills Septic and Pumping Services. Along here with Brett, just trying to stress the need we have for the waste plant. If you take that away from us, Brett has another business, I don't. Black Hills Septic is my sole income. I've been in business since 2017, using this plant this whole time. I have changed my practices as far as I no longer suck 100% down to the bottom of the tanks, where if there is any grit, that's where it's at the bottom. If a system is questionable, I don't take the job. And, you know, there's other practices that I have started doing to limit any grit or grease or anything that could get to the waste plant. It's my only place that I can dump, and if it was taken away, it would cripple me completely. From what our understanding is, the main issues is the grit and odor. I don't think the odor issue has been, from what I understand, an issue for many years. It's not deriving from us dumping there. And the grit, every time we talk with Jason about grit, he brings up 6th Street. Whatever 6th Street is, that seems to be his Achilles heel. Most of the stuff, and most of the stuff he will confirm that it comes from 6th Street. We just happen to be caught in the middle of an issue he's having and your folks' decision to shut us down on the pumping. At the absolute least, instead of shutting us down in the middle of the season, maybe extend it to the end of the season, which is November, is when things start slowing down as far as the pumping goes. People don't generally pump nearly as much during the winter as they do during the warmer times of the year. Basically, we're just pleading our case to you folks to try to establish some kind of, keep this relationship going. We don't think that we are the issue of the problems, and we're there whenever he needs help with anything. Yeah, we charge the city for it, but if, I know in my case, I have dropped my schedule to come up here and help Jason out. If he has to pump out the pit right there at the plant or something, to change the pump or to do maintenance. When he calls, I'm there. And I just like to continue the relationship we've had. I've been dumping here, like I said, since 2017. And very appreciative of it. We'll do anything we can to to keep it going. I appreciate your folks' time.
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. Anyone else?
It'll be July 1st. When did they do it's changed.
Let's move on to our 2024 audit review. Tracy Hansen with Kettle Thorstensen. And we're about 5 minutes away from our public hearing. So when we get there, we'll just ask you to take a pause. We'll get through that hearing and then we'll have you come back.
I think we'll be good. So we completed the 2024 audit process. Thank you to the Finance Office for their assistance in that process. Prior to this meeting, we talked through a summary of those overall results. What we went through was that the city did have to apply a new accounting standard which related to compensated absences. That was applied through the financial statements. We talked through some highlights in terms of 2024's activity, which included some significant capital outlays, and all of that was handled and properly accounted for throughout the financial statements. There are a couple of findings reported related to the fact that we prepare your financial statements and we propose and post audit adjustments. They are the same findings that we've reported on the last few years and not suggesting any change in those processes. And so if there's any questions from the council, I will take those at this time.
Council?
No questions, but like I stated during the readout, this is my seventh audit readout, and essentially it's always been a clean audit. Everything's been very good. And this is part of, I mentioned that there's been comments out on Facebook that the city's not transparent with their finances, and I take great issue with that. And the audit is part of that transparency. I think these audit reports are posted on the city website at every council meeting. Every transaction is part of the council package that's posted. The council reviews that. The budget hearings are public meetings. The city budget is posted on the city website. So every expenditure that we plan for, every expenditure that we approve is available to the public for review. So nothing is hidden. Everything is in full view, and a third independent party looks at what we're doing. They look at the books. Nothing is under the table. Everything is in full view. Our practices are good. Our separation of duties are good. And so we thank you for looking at us closely and in detail each and every year. And they say the proof of the pudding's in the tasting, and the tasting has been very good year after year. So thank you for taking a close, independent look at us.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Just a comment to Misty and Ariel and any other city employee who's helped prepare for this and get the audit going. Thank you, and thank you for the hard work that you do all year long, keeping us in line, making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do, that we're not overspending, we're watching the bank book, if you will, and we are maintaining very well because of you guys. Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very
And I would
much.
say essentially all of our department heads give us a hand in assuring that we comply with the standards that are required. And so it's not just you we're keeping in line, but everybody helps.
Anyone else? I would just like to echo what Bill and JR have said, is that I've been doing these audits since 2016, and the same findings. The one finding that's consistent is the process, the fact that we, hire you folks to do it. And it's been a good partnership, I think. Finance has continually advocated to continue that. As you learn about us and we learn about you, this process is that much better. There was a time when you folks would spend maybe 2 to 3 days at City Hall. This last time you were there for a day. So we appreciate that. When it comes to finance, they're not shy. They're going to let us know if they think we're doing something we shouldn't be doing. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Misty and Ariel, for keeping the city on track. And an audit finding like this, I think is great. And thank you very much.
Thank you. You all have a great evening.
Thank
All right.
you.
Me too.
Okay, so that brings us to our 7:20 public hearing. To act on the license application from a retail on/off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license from Hanging J LLC doing business as Red Rock River Resort to be used at 603 North River Street. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to address this? Council, do you have any questions?
Is this just a renewal? Did it lapse? I know they had one before.
It's not a renewal, and it is a new application. They had have one before.
Okay.
Anyone else? Public? Well, we'll cheat a little bit here, but let's go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:21. Then I need a motion to either approve, deny, or postpone.
I make a motion to approve the license application for a retail on/off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license from Hanging J LLC, doing business as Red Rock River Resort to be used at 603 North River Street.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. On to council updates. Executive Director, Andrea? So this is Shedco Quarterly Update.
Good evening, Mayor Bob, City Council. At the beginning of the spring semester, we offered a 2-day program to complete the Build Dakota Scholarship to all the juniors and seniors at the high school. Many thanks to the admissions team from Western Dakota Technical College and the high school, especially English teacher Tina Winya, who loaned us her classroom for 2 whole days. At the end of registration for the fall semester, I'll go back to the registrar's office at Western Dakota Tech and find out if we experienced an increase in the number of scholarships issued to students from Hot Springs and the number of registrations, period. And if we did see an impact, then we'll keep doing it year to year. I completed a 3-day Coast Otters facilitator training in April. The program is an accelerated entrepreneurship training for new business owners, hopeful entrepreneurs, and those wishing to expand into new product areas. I've asked to participate in the youth entrepreneur training, and I'd like to deliver that at the high school level. I'm waiting to learn the dates and costs for the class. The facilitators training allows me to offer the classes in-house rather than hire it out to a third party, which is what I've been doing for the past 11 years. Western Dakota Tech has purchased and received a new mobile hospital simulator for use at the satellite nursing program. The unit costs approximately $350,000. The school is also implementing a new Rad Tech program and crypto security certification. We also completed our president search and interviews. We received 24 excellent applicants and completed 6 days of interviews to make our final decision. The efforts to bring a new child care program to Hot Springs are progressing. We have a partnership between the school district, Fall River Health Services, and Prairie Transit. I'm in contact with the Bush Foundation to determine ways we might use their grant programs to implement a funding for a program for historic preservation. My first meeting for that is tomorrow. The Department of Labor apprenticeships for plumbing and electricians are going very well. I've had really positive response from our local service providers when I've approached them. I've had one from each field agree to participate so far. I attended a town hall meeting in Edgemont to discuss the potential run-through of the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, which does affect us, of course. While it was agreed that it's too early to formalize any activity because there's been no paperwork submitted as of yet, committees were formed to track any deliberations that would affect us. I did contact Justin Pearson, who is the regional manager of economic development, who knew nothing about the proposal. I also spoke with Amy Macbeth from Public Affairs. So while there appears to be some knowledge at the governmental level, the state governmental level, it's really widely dispersed who knows anything. That tells me it's still in the rumor department, which is a good sign. Any questions about that? No? Okay. Building 1 is under option to purchase agreement, which ends at the end of June. I've spoken with the developer, and based on his comments, I'm very optimistic that the transfer will go through. At that time, Shedco will do a survey and host some focus groups so the developer can get a better picture of community rental needs. And then lastly, I have progress on the Fall River Health Services housing development, and I'll defer to Jeremy to share that with you.
You've been very busy.
I'm sorry?
Said you've been very busy.
Thank you, and I just want to reiterate that there's very little that I do that's just me alone. It's always a group of people, community members, city people. It's always a group effort.
Anyone else?
Will you be emailing those notes to me?
I'll leave it with Jeremy and he'll hand it off to you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Andrea?
Yes.
Got a couple questions. You had talked about the apprenticeship program, the plumbing and electricians. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, so Department of Labor has an official nationwide certification for over 1,400 career areas, and within that, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of subdivisions within those career areas. Our representative is Bill Christensen. It involves typically a one-year apprenticeship, unless it's something like plumbing, which has a required 4-year apprenticeship. So when I get together with, we'll say, an electrician, like Al Stevens, I take him and we meet with Bill Christensen. Bill explains the program, which will require some looking at the plumbing certification program that is the nationwide certification, and the individual plumber can retool that in order to meet their specific needs. Not completely, but up to about 50%. Everyone I've ever had look at this program in the last 10 years, whenever they get into it and look at their specific field, whether it be veterinary services or whatever, they always say, oh yeah, I already do all that. So it's not nearly as complicated as a person would think when they think, oh gosh, I've got to get on this website and look. And then there is a reimbursement to the mentor. First year, $15,000. Years thereafter, $10,000. The mentor must pay the apprentice, and there are scheduled raises when certain job criteria have been met. So it's a win-win for both sides. And I'm going to be meeting with the superintendent in the next couple of days to see if there are any students there who have an interest in either of these two professions. I just chose these to really drill down on it because I know how severe the need is in our area.
Andrea, I just read in a monthly publication related to water systems that wastewater operators and water operators also have this new apprenticeship program or have the ability to participate. So
you can have an apprentice as a tattoo artist.
We are always, it seems like, looking for help in those areas. So if you'd like to add a couple, if it's very successful and you'd like to add a couple positions, the city is often looking for
It's amazing the word is not out there more thoroughly than it is.
Paid training is unheard of too. I mean,
it is. In this country, it really is. And it's the tool to get people into those fields that are high needs.
Is this open to any age group?
Yes, you don't have to be fresh out of high school. Is that what you're asking me?
I'm just wondering if they're focusing, strictly on high schools, or if anybody that...
You need a new job, Bob?
Depends on what day you ask.
I would love to figure out how to work with veterans, and that's a conversation that Bill Gates and I are having, because that's a great tool for veterans to get into new training
That was going to be my question to you, Andrea.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a way for the veterans to get involved in this? Because I know at the VA, in the SART program, they have CWT, compensated work therapy, and that's in unit, but this sounds like a great idea for veterans that come out of the service, they're wanting to give back to society, you know. So, yeah, that was my question. But you answered it.
Anything else?
Yes. Building 1.
Building 1.
Is the developer prospective developer, are they kind of looking at the same plans that, you know, were previously put together for it?
Similar, yes.
Okay. Any idea when they might know?
Well, their option's up at the end of June, and so they've had various inspections completed, fire inspector, you know, all the things that you need to go through to make sure that the building's up to snuff and exactly the cost that, the amount that will need to be invested in it. And so far, I'm hearing good reports.
My recollection is that the opportunity with the previous developer paused because of financing and costs and all. Is that looking better? And is that why somebody is
Yes.
maybe a little further along making this happen?
Yes is what I can say. I cannot confirm or deny any of that. I can just tell you that I'm encouraged.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
As far as the nursing program, you mentioned the really neat toy that they're going to be getting. Is it a 1-year or 2-year program for graduates?
It's a year, it's a school year and a summer, so.
Okay, so.
3 semesters for the LPN.
Okay. And so we had 12 people start it last fall?
And 8 are there now.
8 are now?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know yet how many have registered for the fall.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
there are 3 satellite programs, one with us, one with Philip, and one in Whitewood.
Right. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On to personnel actions. Can I get a motion to approve?
I think Jeremy was going to talk about the Fall River Health Services.
Jeremy, did you want to talk about it now, or did you want to talk about it when it's actually the agenda item for you folks? Your call. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Can I get a personnel or a motion to approve personnel actions A through M?
Make a motion to approve personnel actions, items A through M.
Second.
Discussion? Linda? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. On to ordinances. Can I get a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1266?
Make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1266, an ordinance revising Title 11 Business Regulations, Chapter 110 Licenses, and 110.18 License Fees and Issuance.
Second.
Discussion? Misty, would you call the roll, please?
Linda Varvel,
Yes.
Larry Pratt,
Yes.
Travis Orbach,
Yes.
Hal Glanville,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston,
Yes.
Deborah Johnston.
Yes.
Bill Lukens.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes. On to our first resolution of the evening. Can I get a motion to approve Resolution 2025-11, a resolution in support of an application for financial assistance?
I'll make a motion to approve 2025-11, a resolution in support of an application for financial assistance to the South Dakota Housing and Development Authority by Fall River Health Services and/or its affiliates, agents, or assigns for the benefit of single-family development.
Second. Larry?
Yep, got it. We have a correction. I'm sorry I didn't catch it on this, but it needs to be the benefit of a single/multi-family development.
I make that amendment.
I second that.
Thank you.
All right, discussion. Jeremy? Georgia?
Hey, Misty, you meant single/multifamily, right?
Yes. Is that what he said? Good.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. Can you hear me okay?
Audience?
Is that,
All right.
Closer.
Got to put it up to your
can
face.
you hear me?
Yeah.
Is that better? All right. With Jeremy Schultes, and with me is Georgia Holmes. And we just want to visit with you a little bit this evening and update the council on where we're at with our potential affordable housing project. So when we first started this, we felt rather inept and a little bit disorganized, and I think that we're gaining the resources and the information that we need. We're working very closely with Toby Morris with Colors Consulting. He's been instrumental in teaching us what we need to do and how we need to get there. We are not housing developers, but it's good to connect with people that do that. So we're working very closely with a contractor to actually assist with putting the infrastructure in, as well as designing the neighborhood. And if this grant is approved, that will provide the resources needed to actually help with the infrastructure. I believe it's for everything that is below ground. And then it can be developed. I know that the City Council did approve a potential TIF. That consulting entity would also help us walk through that process as well. Any questions this evening?
I'm not sure they approved a potential TIF, but we have discussed that as a
All right,
funding
thank you,
option.
Misty. As an option?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So you're working to get a contractor?
I believe we've identified someone that is willing to do that work.
And an engineer?
And an engineer, correct.
Are you working with any kind of timeline yet? The sooner the better, yes.
Not at this time. We're trying to identify the financial resources to make it work.
Okay.
We want to do it correctly. So we're working on all the processes that we need to go through. We're asking for your blessings and help.
What's Plan B?
I think we're on Plan C right now, Larry.
Okay.
So it'd probably be Plan D, and we're not sure of that. The infrastructure cost is estimated at $3 million. So we're really trying to keep this affordable, and when we have that type of development cost, the options are limited. We're anticipating about $70,000 per home site for the development.
Thank you. Anyone else? My recollection of the conversations we've had when you folks first approached council is that at that time you had found someone that you were hopeful would be the developer for you and manage all of that, the design, the construction, all of those kinds of things. And that didn't work out the way that you had hoped it would. So now you've moved on to you are going to be the developers and you are going to be working with the design engineer. And as Misty had said during the first conversation, council was very aware that for this to work, there would need to be a TIF involved in it. And they were in agreement that when we get to that point, they would be favorable to voting to approve the TIF. And that's my understanding, last conversations we had, that's at the heart and soul of what we're talking about right now, is first to approve this this resolution that then gets you started down the path of being able to see whether you're going to qualify for grants and money, and then the TIF would be shortly after that, and you'd mentioned that you've identified somebody, you have somebody on board that has been through that process, because we would certainly need our hand held in working through that. But my sense is council has always been in favor of this. We recognize that we need houses, and you folks are stepping up not only for your own needs, but the needs of the community. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So this is the step that, assuming you're successful on this, then we would be able to rezone, do the necessary rezoning, which would be the step before addressing the TIF issues. Am I correct in that?
In our discussion with Don Olstead, we have a couple different options on zoning, potentially residential A or PUD, and we believe that would be a PUD. We are not at the point where we know the details yet to request that, so we hope to know that probably in the next 30 to 60 days.
Okay.
If we do not, then we would come forward and request residential A.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, I know that's, we have to get it out of the
NU. No use.
The no use zoning that it's currently in. We have I think, a total of a year or something that it's in that. So that's one of the time frames we're up against. So this helps us get out of that.
Sure.
So with the Planning and Zoning Commission too, we are tracking, and so we had sent the letters to Fall River Health Services to kind of start getting the ball rolling, and it's something that we are revisiting at the monthly meetings. So hopefully you guys find out something or hear something sooner rather than later. So I think the first or second week of October is our deadline.
Okay.
So
things are moving.
Slowly and hopefully surely.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Good luck. On to our next resolution. Can I get a motion to approve Resolution 2025-12, a resolution appointing Finance Officer Misty Summers Walton and City Administrator Jacqueline Kelsey?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-12, a resolution appointing Finance Officer Misty Summers Walton and City Administrator Jacqueline Kelsey as applicant agents for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program.
Second. Deborah. Misty, Jacqueline, anything you'd like to add on this?
It's required through FEMA Go that you designate appointed agents to ensure that all the grant requirements are met in a timely fashion, and so it made sense for the two of us to take on that role. Even though we're working with Black Hills Council of Local Governments to also help us ensure that we're keeping things on track. And this is related to the generator, the grant applications we're seeking, or the grants that we're seeking to help fund the generators for the wastewater treatment plant and potentially Hotbrook pumping station.
Long time coming.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. On to new business. Can I get a motion to approve new business item A, accept the 2024 financial statements and audit report?
Make a motion to accept the 2024 financial statements and audit report prepared and presented by Kettle Thorsten LLP.
Second.
I think Bill was first. No.
Thorsten's son, I'm sorry.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion for new business item B, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the designation of applicant agents?
Make a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the designation of applicant agents, designating finance officer Misty Summers Walton and city administrator Jacqueline Kelsey to apply for federal financial assistance under the Disaster Relief Act or otherwise available from the President's Disaster Relief Fund for the Hot Brook Pumping Station and wastewater treatment plant generator projects.
Second.
Discussion? This is related to the resolution that you just approved 2025-12.
Got a question. Did you say president or Jim Poppin? I thought I heard the word president. Was that in there?
She did available from the President's Disaster Relief Fund. So it's a place where funding may be available.
We're on item B.
All right, I'm looking at C, sorry. Apologies.
That's okay.
My eye's not working tonight.
Any other questions?
A few steps in this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Now we're down to Larry. Can I get a motion to approve new business item C? Approve and authorize the mayor to sign the commitment to meet matching fund requirements.
I make a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the commitment to meet matching fund requirements. Letter addressed to Jim Poppin at the South Dakota Office of Emergency Management. Letter related to the Hot Brook Pumping Station and wastewater treatment plant generator projects.
Second.
Discussion related to new business item B and resolution 2025-12. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion on new business item D? Set public hearing on Monday, June 16th at 7:10 p.m.
I make a motion to set a public hearing on Monday, June 16th at 7:10 p.m. for the special sale alcoholic beverage license application from the Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce for the all-school reunion event to be held on July 4th, 2025 at the Mueller Civic Center, 801 South 6th Street.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion for new business item E? Special sale alcoholic beverage license application from Whiskey River LLC.
I make a motion to approve the special sale alcoholic beverage license application from Whiskey River LLC for Main Street Arts and Crafts Festival event to be held at Centennial Park, 275 Garden Street on June 27th, 28th, 29th, 2025.
Second.
Linda. Discussion? Is there anyone here from Whiskey River? Is there anything you'd like to say to the council? Does council have any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item F. Can I get a motion to set a public hearing on Monday, June 2nd at 7:30 p.m.?
I'll make a motion to set a public hearing on Monday, June 2nd at 7:30 p.m. to consider proposed amendments to Title 15 Land Usage, Chapter 154 Subdivisions, 154.02, 154.03, 154.04, and 154.05, and Chapter 55 Zoning Code, 155.002, 155.003.004.032, and .051.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion for new business item G? Approve a future supplemental appropriation of $3,500 to the general fund.
Make a motion to approve a future supplemental appropriation of $3,500 to the General Fund Park Department 101-45200-43300 for the purchase and installation of an irrigation system at Centennial Park.
Second.
JR.
Thank you.
Discussion. So the question has been asked of me, doesn't Centennial Park already have an irrigation system? And yes, Centennial Park proper does have an irrigation system. This is to install new irrigation below Centennial Park, adjacent to the river there, that area that we have been developing for a number of years. We've had some of the parts that had been purchased, and actually laying out the plan, we found out that we don't have enough to irrigate everything, and we've been looking at potential funding for this. And Jacqueline, I just ask that you go ahead and maybe talk a little bit about that.
So I think most everything is summarized in the letter that's in your packets. But really, so like I kind of talked about in the letter, it's important to get this irrigation system up and running for the beautification of our parks, and also to support certain events like the Balloon Festival in August. The balloonists have stated that they may not want to hold the night glow down in the park if there's no grass. So we've developed some urgency to get this done. So as far as the timeline and the question that Gerald asked, we would be looking at starting this as soon as possible, if approved by council. And then also just wanted to note that the parks budget does have a line item for water repairs that has $7,000 in it. However, the notes on it indicate that it's for bathroom fixture items and ongoing sprinkler repairs. So we don't believe that this installing this irrigation system falls under that category. And then with the wayfinding sign program having a lot of additional funds to it, outside of what we're anticipating it's going to cost, we figured that that might be the most appropriate place to try to take this money from. So, are there any questions about why we're moving this along and why we're trying to not have it wait until next year? Or
Yeah, if I'm at liberty to ask, have you and Billy have had a conversation about this?
we've had multiple conversations about it, yes, and he has confirmed that we don't have the necessary supplies to complete the project out at the shop. And then also, like I stated in the letter, initially when we had the quote for this that our city engineer did, we were looking at roughly $8,000. And then through looking at different suppliers, we've significantly reduced the cost or estimated cost. So I believe that this is an appropriate ask.
I totally agree with the project, but I might add that we might need a few more dollars to buy seed, because otherwise we'll just be watering weeds, because all the seed that was put down there is long dead. And at this point, I think we'd be watering, making really good mud patches. So I think we might be needing some seed to put down there as well.
So we also do have $3,000 budgeted for trees, grass, seed, and the plans to reseed in various areas. So
okay, great.
Would it be easier to sod it rather than seeding it and all the care it takes to seed and watch it and then boom, we got it all quick?
I think that would be that would cost a lot more than it would be to buy some seed and maintain it through our proper irrigation.
Well, if you seed it, it's going to take a lot of care, and if it goes kaput, that's...
We've consulted with our golf course superintendent on the best irrigation plan going forward, and also various types of seed that might take hold and last longer and have a better appeal to it.
It's been a windy year, too. It's been a very windy year, too. Yeah, I was commenting.
I'm looking forward to having that area look much prettier than it has. We had a dream for it, and it's been slipping away, so we need to catch up.
To Deborah's point, this project has been on the schedule prior to the road reconstruction. And once the road reconstruction started, we didn't have the people, to focus on it. So we kept putting it off, and we kept putting it off. And anybody that was at last year's Night Glow, I hope sees the potential for developing that area of downtown and getting some grass down there. Not just for the balloons, but for anybody that wants to get from Centennial Park down to the river and actually be able to, enjoy the river and maybe have a picnic down there or something. Developing this area is huge in getting that done. The $3,500 that Jacqueline talked about, we did bump up the potential cost, the possible cost. We wanted to make sure there was enough funding there that when they actually get ready to purchase the parts that are estimated around $2,000, that you have given us enough to go ahead and purchase everything. So we're not saying we want to use it all. We just want to make sure there's enough there if the quotes go up from the original figures that Tracy got a hold of. Didn't want to come back to you and say, oops, we need some more. The money coming out of the wayfinding, Jacqueline has worked real hard and with Pheasant Land Industries to get a good cost for that. And we don't think that the costs are going to be much over, what, $5,000, $7,500 maybe. And council, you approved $57,000 in the street department for wayfinding signs. So we're going to be well below that. So we feel like we have the extra money available to transfer from the street departments to the parks department to make this happen. Well, that's why it's in front of you.
And we're not limiting the signs either. That's
No.
by employees of the city installing and obtaining the signs from a very cost-effective business to do business with.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jacqueline. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion for new business item H? Acknowledge notification of raffle from philanthropic educational organization.
I make a motion to acknowledge notification of raffle from the philanthropic educational organization who is selling raffle tickets in local stores and at some area events for $20 each, with the main prize being a free hot air balloon ride for two, not hair. The money raised will be used to support scholarships, grants, and loans for women's education and for the PEO's budget. Drawing will be held on 9/15/25.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve new business item I, travel training request for Hot Springs Police Department Officer, School Resource Officer Thomas McMillan?
I make a motion to approve travel training request for HSPD officer, SRO officer Thomas McMillan to attend the South Dakota School Resource Officer Conference in Sioux Falls on June 4th through the 6th.
Second.
25, yeah.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion for new business item J, a travel training request for Assistant Finance Officer Ariel Ellison?
I make a motion to approve the travel training request for Assistant Finance Officer Ariel Ellison to attend the South Dakota Municipal League Budget Training, June 18th in Rapid City.
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion for new business item K? A travel training request for City Administrator Jacqueline Kelsey to attend the South Dakota Municipal League budget training.
Make a motion to approve the travel training request for City Administrator Jacqueline Kelsey to attend the South Dakota Municipal League budget training June 18th in Rapid City.
Second.
Discussion?
Man, you guys are going to have so much fun.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
And can I get a motion for our last new business item L? Travel training request from Library Director and Clerk, Mary Terronez and Heather Lee.
I make a motion for travel training request from Library Director and Clerk Mary Terronez and Heather Lee to attend the Summer Public Library Institute, June 3rd and 4th in Pierce, South Dakota.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, it says right here, they got one night staying on state library funding pending. Has that been, did they get it?
I haven't heard.
Not that it matters, I'm just asking.
Don't have an answer for you.
Okay, thank you.
We can ask.
It does matter.
A lot of the trainings that have like a scholarship or they'll pay for part of it want to see your council approve it before they award any of that money. So
Works for me.
it's likely to come after.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under our committee reports, first committee report, Administrative and Finance, JR.
Admin Finance met on May 12th at 1 p.m. here at the Mueller Civic Center. In attendance were Mayor Bob Nelson, Administrative Assistant Amber Brandstetter, City Administrator Jacqueline Kelsey, Assistant Finance Officer Ariel Allison, Alderman Gary Telkamp, Alderwoman Deb Johnson, and Chair J.R. Huddleston. Old business number 1, PPE clothing, 2026 budget estimates needed for both. Jacqueline opened discussion on PPE and clothing, estimating that the cost for 2026 could be $3,000 to $4,000. Discussed local vendors that are competitive and have not decided on a vendor yet. After reviewing costs and examples, committee agreed that a reasonable clothing allowance should be 5 t-shirts, 2 long sleeve shirts, 1 hoodie to start. Department heads will choose the colors representative to their department. $200 allowance for steel toe or composite boots. Items will not be repurchased until proven obsolete or ruined. City-issued clothing and PPE are not for personal use. Policy changes to come from Jacqueline, and the plan for this route is in 2026 budget. Number 2, long-standing event holders, calendar reservations for City Park, resolution pending. Committee discussed what is reserved, whole park, portions of the park, shelter, etc. There was some confusion over Chautauqua Park over the weekend for a wedding. Clarification that a reservation is for the covered pavilion and we cannot restrict the public from utilizing the park during any reserved event. Long-standing list, resolution, and application were reviewed and suggestions suggested were change made. Number 3, review list of no ordinance revision pending. There are multiple ordinances that need reviewed. Discussions were wastewater, zoning, subdivisions, fire and contractor licensing. Council will soon see these ordinance changes come in the packets. These are primarily clarification edits, with notable changes being impact fees rather than a stub-out fee. allowed materials to be dumped at the wastewater facility. Signage allowed updates, requirement for preliminary plats, and warranty requirements on contractors. New business, Mayor, none. Committee members, none. Number 3, review monthly finance officer report and 2024 annual report. Finance reports were in the last council packet. No questions were asked. In-depth audit readout will be at 6:30 Monday, May 19th, prior to council meeting, with a short audit review as part of the regular meeting, which we had tonight. Number 4, review election schedule. Discuss absentee voting and election worker training. Election worker training will be May 15th, 2 p.m. at the school. Deadline to register to vote is May 19th at 5 p.m. Absentee voting available at City Hall May 19th through June 2nd for both school and city ballots. Number 5, Wells Fargo versus First Interstate. Comparing banking service and fees. Discussions on banking services and fees. No recommendations to switch banks has been made as both appear comparable. Number 6, House Bill 1037, effective July 1st, 2025, eliminated allowance provided to on-time payers of sales tax remittance was up to $70 a month or $840 annually. General Fund, EPMS, and Southern Hills Golf Course revenue impacted. This is an FYI info item as it relates to lost revenue in future budgets. Number 7, 2026 budget preparations, either Tuesday, July 21 and Thursday, July 24, or the following week, Tuesday, July 29th and Thursday, July 31st. Committee recommended Tuesday, July 28th and Thursday, the 31st from 5 to 9 p.m. as it works better for this committee's schedules and the finance workload. Number 8, SDML budget training available in Rapid City on 6/18, offered as a refresher to current council and for new council members. Please contact Ariel before June 3rd, as she will register everyone interested. Number 9, Fall River County Dispatch Agreement 2026. Mayor Nelson will be meeting with the county commissioner May 23rd. Item 10, Assistant Finance Officer versus Deputy Finance Officer discussion, social media responsibilities. Committee chose to discuss at the next meeting as they want more time to review and to ask questions. Our meeting adjourned at 2:45 p.m. Next meeting is June 9th at 1 p.m. here at the Mueller Civic Center. Subject to your questions.
I got a question for you, JR. It's probably going to sound like a silly question just for my whatever. As far as the PPE is concerned, you will be using OSHA standards, like if the boots get a scratch on the steel toe, they got to dispose of them and buy some new ones?
Well, yeah, if they get ruined, they need new ones, correct.
Okay, but I know with OSHA standards, I mean, if there is a cut on the boots, they have to get some new boots. I'm just wondering if
I don't know how in-depth that goes. If you get a spot on your shirt, do you replace it? So, I don't know how in-depth it goes.
Right.
I think we would leave it up to the department heads to make that determination whether that item needs to be replaced or not.
Okay.
Just to comment a little bit on that question and what JR said. So as a municipality, we're not required to follow OSHA standards. However, like he said, it'll be at the department head's discretion. What we're really trying to zero in on right now is better tracking for our departments and for PPE. So we have a better tracking of the purchases and what needs to be replaced, when it needs to be replaced, and that PPE is being used appropriately. But it will be at the department head's discretion to replace items as necessary.
Thank you. I was just looking at it from a safety point. No, appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks, JR.
Thank you.
Anyone else? An update on my meeting with the county commissioners. That will be, it wasn't at the 23rd, their 23rd commissioner meeting. It will be at the next one, and I believe that's June 3rd, maybe. But don't quote me on the date. But I sent an email to Sue Ganji asking to be included on the council or the commission agenda so I can give them an update on the city's position on the dispatch contract. So, thank you, JR.
Sir.
Gary's not with us.
Airport will meet Thursday, June 5th, 8:30 at the airport.
Thank you.
10?
8:30
The 5th.
on the 5th.
Yeah, I got the 5th. I thought I heard you say 10th, sorry.
Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management, Travis?
I wasn't here last meeting, but I just wanted to say that there wasn't anything discussed that affected the city of Hot Springs. And then the next meeting for the board will be Thursday, July 10th, 2025, 7 o'clock here at the Mueller Center.
Thank you. Historic Preservation, Deborah?
Historic Preservation met May 7th, 5 p.m. Present were Carl Hall, Christine Heidebrink, Brian Crawford, and Joe Nicochet. There was no staff present. Members of the public was Jason Heidebrink and Peggy Sanders. There was no communication from the public. There was no update on the flag sign ordinance changes. There was no update on the jail facade letter to the commissioners. No update on the restoration of the historic Hot Springs sign by Keep Hot Springs Beautiful. The Pioneer Museum new sign certificate of appropriateness. Peggy Sanders was present regarding the COA for a proposed new sign at the base of the hill going up to the Pioneer Museum. Christine made a motion to approve, and the design was seconded, and the motion carried. Alongside that, previous communications to me, they're requesting that we don't hang any other signs over the top of that, rather for our other events that are going on in town that put considerable wear and tear on the sign that's presently there, and they want them to be hung underneath their sign, that part of the sign. Under old business, addition of the 110 South Chicago to the deterioration by neglect. One of the attendees stated that it had become a bank-owned property and was going to be going up for auction, and I believe that auction was held this last week, and I don't know if it sold. No comments from the public. Ordinance reviews are in progress, no further updates. And legislative options for funding, Carl will be reaching out to Liz Umley at the State Historic Preservation Office first to continue the discussion on potential funding options. And the meeting adjourned at 5:42, and the next one will be June 4th, 5 p.m. here at the Mueller Center.
Any questions for Deborah? Thank you, Deborah. Evans Plunge Advisory, Linda?
The Evans Plunge Advisory Committee met May 8th, 2025 at noon. Attendees were Kari Mullock, Gabby Martin, Allison Ritterbusch, Tom Nas, Jeremy Isaac, and Linda Varvel. Operations, they are gearing up for the summer season with 3 front desks. We will be getting new lifeguards trained and certified as soon as possible. There is a head guard vacancy currently. Has Lillian Broyles accepted the aquatics director position. We are running some May specials, a punch card special, Mother's Day, and Memorial Day specials. Hopefully, we will be opening the outdoor pool on May 23rd. Equipment and fitness area, conducting normal repairs, hot tub repairs, and the roof still leaks. Swim lessons, classes are coming along with 67 students registered through June. Allison has her swim team in the pool at 7 a.m. Review of monthly incidents, there were none to report. Public comment, a parent questioned the age requirements that were put in place in January of 2025 on the use of the fitness and hot tubs area. He nor his wife are available to supervise their underage students using these facilities. After discussion, it was agreed that staff would look into wristbands for swim team and others to utilize this area. We adjourned at 12:37 p.m. The next meeting will be June 12th, 2025 at the Evans Plunge Mineral Springs. Questions?
Yeah, where's the roof leaking?
I think it's been leaking where it always has been.
In the weight room?
I think it's the weight room.
Yeah, I think it's in the weight room area at a.
Because I feel like we've had a couple different roofing companies address that.
Do you know anything about it?
I went up on that roof, went into that area, but I got the impression that that me being there was more of a nuisance than anything else, and I really wanted to go down on that lower roof where it's leaking and inspect that. But Jeff and I only looked at a certain part of it. I'd really like to go back up on that flat roof up there and take a good look at that and see what can be done about that.
I feel like we've had like roofing companies do that too.
Right.
Yeah, and I think Tom said it was still all under warranty.
It should still be under warranty.
Right.
I think it's potentially new damage, but we'll get with the building maintenance.
That lower roof down there is more gravel than it is anything else, so to go up there and to have that worked on, you'll have to pull the gravel out of it, look at the underlaying, layment on it, and hope for the best. I think most of it's caused by the winter, little ice jam that gets caught in there, then when it melts, it starts coming back down inside the building. Because when it was raining, I really didn't see much of anything happening with that, but it doesn't mean it's not leaking. So that's my unprofessional opinion.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
In the weight room?
I don't go in there, sir.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Parks, Recreation, Beautification, Cultural Development, Larry, Linda.
Parks and Recreation met on Wednesday, May the 7th at 2 p.m. In attendance were Gerald Colligan, Bart Sieg, Jason Guest, Jason Midgley, Gabby Martin, Matt Rippentrop, Caitlin Mossett, Matt Tesher, Chris Katke, Mayor Bob Nelson, myself, and Linda Varvel. In updates, cemetery, there was no report. In parks, they have planted 4 trees, continue with mowing and general spring cleanup. Crews are also rebuilding the riverbank above the Belly Bridge as it is washing away. I think they've already accomplished that now. Mueller Civic Center, a quiet month was reported. The dance studio recitals coming up. Graduation parties are scheduled, so we're a little bit behind on those. They've already been done. Open gym and pickleball is going on. Mowing of the grounds has commenced. In recreation, they have nearly completed registration. Softball has 4 teams running May through June. There are limited spots in other activities. Keep Hot Springs Beautiful, they have held 2 mega events. They filled 60-plus bags for the Hot Springs cleanup, and they brought back the recycling truck, fill it within the first hour. The bump out signs are in and will be placed with mulching and other prep work being done. Electric box cover design choices are due this next week. 2 to 3 boxes will sport these covers. In new business, lighting at the Legion Field, Hot Springs Youth Basketball Association, Matt Rippentrop and Matt Tesher report up to 13 lights are gone and need replaced. They will get estimates and plans in place for LED options to bring those back to a future meeting. Centennial Park Restoration Rotary, the club will continue to work with City Administrator Jacqueline Kelsey. They did present a Phase 1 plan for this restroom, and we'll start looking at improvements for the Butler Park restrooms. In old business, none was addressed. In public comment in disc golf, Jason Guest, Rapid City has approved Rapid City has approved transfer of equipment to Hot Springs, but felt the transfer would be better from one city council to the other. Basketball court resurfacing, timer on lights need work. They need to raise the divider fence to resurface the court. Gerald Colligan requests the drain pipe at Kidney Springs be painted brown, requested the fencing by the motel parking lot be expanded into the Kidney Springs Park, suggested that the lawn sprayers be watched while spraying as they are killing young trees at Butler Park, reported on drainage at the Centennial Park fountain. The meeting adjourned at 3 p.m. Next meeting will be June 4th, 2025 at the Mueller Center. Jacqueline, got anything to add? Linda, anything to add to that?
I just had a couple things about some of the points. So the Centennial Park bathrooms, I guess the phase 1 of the restoration is well underway, and we hope, well, the Rotary hopes to have something or some work done prior to the concert series beginning. That's the goal, but we'll see how things go. And then we keep getting comments about the timer up at the basketball courts. So I just want to, because it's been brought up quite a few different times, so I just want to put out that it doesn't keep getting brought up because of inaction on our streets and maintenance department or parks or anybody. It's due to the system resetting itself, so that causes issues with the timers, and then so that whole system we're looking at revamping hopefully in the future at some point. So again, just to say that those lights aren't on because we're not hearing the public and the committees to fix them. It's just an ongoing issue that we're dealing with. And then also, no, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Linda, anything to add to that? Thank you. Any questions, anybody?
Thank you. Planning and zoning, Deborah?
Planning and zoning will meet this Wednesday, the 21st, 6 p.m. at City Hall.
Thank you. Safety, Bill, JR?
Safety Committee will meet Thursday, June 5th, 1 p.m. at the Mueller Center Conference Room.
Thank you. Public Works, Bill, Hal?
Public Works will meet Tuesday, May 27th, 1 p.m. at the Mueller Center Conference Room.
Thank you. Southern Hills Golf Course Advisory Committee met on May 12th at the clubhouse. Committee members present were Colin Miller, Greg Berry, Skylar Wetzel, and Dawn Olsted. Staff present, Clubhouse Manager Joe Lowe, Golf Course Superintendent Jason Happy, and City Administrator Jacqueline Kelsey. Members of the public, Gail Sprenthal and Bob Sprenthal. Under new business, grounds reports from Jason. The greens are now put to standard with the height of cut at .125 inches. Hole number 6, middle tee box renovation update. Some top dressing will be done and it will be roped off for a bit longer, but should be open prior to the Father's Day tournament. All of the bunkers have been edged. Maintenance team will now be focusing on making a uniform edge around the bunkers. Hole 13 still needs sod. Sod is scheduled for pickup on May 21st. The sod should complete hole 13 with some leftover to use on the path behind the clubhouse. Speaking of the sod, Council, if you remember, you approved a travel request to go down to Colorado to pick up that sod. The last project scheduled will be building steps to the driving range as well as a railing for safety. Clubhouse report from Jill. Year to date, there have been approximately 1,535 rounds, including 129 tournament rounds. Year to date revenue is up approximately $36,000 from last year. Staff has been focusing on enforcing and educating golfers on the course rules. Jill stated she has received some complaints about fivesomes from other golfers, wondering why we allow it and why they can't have fivesomes. She explained it's a matter of monkey see, monkey do mentality. Jill added that she should have the new proof of the scorecards coming in soon. The new scorecards will have several changes and updates on them that we hope will be welcomed by the golfers. She also reported that she's working hard to add one more person, so 2 employees will be working on busy days to help with miscellaneous tasks as well as helping customers. And finally, she added that she received great compliments from a lot of golfers from out of town that played in the 3-man scramble on Saturday. And compliments included course condition as well as how nice the local golfers are to play with. Old business, tee markers. Jason has ordered, the new steel has been ordered for the tee markers to be built by Hot Springs High School industrial tech students. And after the team markers have been built, they will need to be painted. Communications from the public. Gail Sprenthal referenced a letter she submitted to the advisory committee last month and reiterated her questions referencing the status of the advisory committee. It was stated that Skylar Wetzel stepped in as another member of the committee after Gail's resignation. More discussion was then had about the status and purpose of the advisory committee. Women's golf leagues were also brought up, resulting in Colette Miller volunteering to assist in the women's golf leagues. Gail also questioned the Southern Hills Golf Course master plan and was advised that profit will dictate what, if anything, is able to be done. Bob Sprenthal commented on the public urination sign on the golf course and recommended either we remove the sign or add more signs throughout Southern Hills Golf Course. It is the recommendation of the Southern Hills Golf Course Advisory Committee to remove the sign. I talked with Jason Happy about the particular sign and asked him to not remove the sign. This has been a discussion going on since last summer. It's frustrating that the committee can't land on a single recommendation. By that I mean last year they were okay with having the urination sign put up. And now they're recommending that it be taken down. So the reason I asked Jason not to remove the sign is I didn't attend this last meeting, and I want to have another conversation with the committee and try to understand where they're at on this issue. Addressing the advisory committee, council, I included a letter that was received and reviewed by the Golf Advisory Committee at their April meeting, I believe, that talked about the status of the advisory board and have explained to the board and the individual that the city only has, as far as the normal committee reports that we get, or that you folks give, planning and zoning and historic preservation are the only 2 committees that are required by codified law that council has to appoint members to. All of the other committees has been my understanding and my approach is they are committees that are formed or put together at the discretion of the current mayors to help them understand and you as a council understand what's going on within the city. So there isn't an appointment from you folks to those other committees. The way I've handled it is having a conversation when somebody leaves those committees with someone else who would like to fill the role. So in the reference to Skylar stepping in after the individual had stepped down, had resigned, Skylar and her brother have been involved in golf in Hot Springs for quite a while. Both of them did summer golf instruction. Skylar works at the golf course, so she's well aware of what's going on out there. So I reached out to her and asked if she would be willing to step in and be a part of the committee when the individual resigned. Skylar has done an excellent job. So as far as status of the advisory committee, that's in flux depending on who's there at the time. That's my take on that. The individual feeling like there should be more to it than that is disappointing. Again, the sign, it's been disappointing that they're more focused on the sign than they are the behavior that the sign is trying to address. There has been no discussion about what are we going to do other than put a sign up to get adult males to behave appropriately in public. So I want to have that discussion with them again before we see whether we're going to move with this. It has been pointed out that these are simply recommendations to council. Council makes the final decision. So after the next meeting, I'll figure out what we're going to do with this and what I want to pass on to you folks for your consideration. Do you have any questions on Golf Course Committee report? All right. The next meeting will be June 9th, 6 p.m. at the clubhouse, and it's open to the public. City Administrator report. Jacqueline, do you have anything?
I just have a few things. So first, on the April 22nd council meeting, you approved a travel training request for me in the total amount, or for the total amount of $547.21. And I just wanted to update you on May 14th. I was reached out to and was notified that I was awarded $300 scholarship to attend the Human Resource Officers Association training. So I just wanted to give you an update, as I stated in my travel training request that I would, about the status of that scholarship. And then also, just a quick update on the code enforcement side of things. So our code enforcement official is working really hard to get this city cleaned up, and is working on a variety of projects, both big and small. And an idea that we've been kicking around, and we've also talked to the city shop about it, for the upcoming Free Dump Week, which is from June 9th to 13th, are looking for potential individuals within the community to assist those who may not be able to take things to the dump or to the city shop for Free Dump Week on their own. So just something, if you know anyone, or to kick around and keep in mind, to get with myself and or Wesley, so we can help coordinate potential helpers / volunteers to help people in our community clean up, and help those that may not have the resources to do so. I think that's all I have.
So if you had volunteers helping people to do that, would your name be put on a list so that the city employees would be aware of?
So we've kicked that around, how we would do that, so that way the city employees would know. And initially we were gonna just generate a list, but we actually came up with the idea of doing volunteer cards. So anybody that gets on the list to volunteer will get a City of Hot Springs volunteer card, and that way it's just less for Billy and his crew out at the shop to try to manage and look through a list and verify. There are only going to be a set number of these cards based off of whoever signs up, so if they have a card, they're legit.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Congratulations on your scholarship.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Thank you, Jacqueline. Misty, Finance Officer report?
You did not have one in your last packet because we had the annual report. So this is my monthly financial reports through the end of April. So they're a little outdated at this point. A review of the profit and loss summary by fund continues to report losses in several of our funds. Although I've never seen such a significant deficit at this time of year, the trend of spending more than we collect in the first half of the year is part of a normal fiscal cycle for the city. In May, the general fund will receive our first half of the 2024 pay 2025 property taxes from the county, which should have a positive impact on the year-to-date comparison of revenue to expenditures in the general fund. As noted by the auditor when she came to speak to you, it will be missing about $67,000 for special assessment, but the county plans to cover what cannot be collected. We should also begin to see increasing revenues and sales tax dollars in 101, 211, and 212 as we enter the busier tourist season, as well as increased monthly revenues at both the golf course and the plunge. In late March, we received the final report for our SDML Workers' Compensation Fund 2024 payroll audited billing, which resulted in a refund of $5,266. 2024 workers' compensation premiums paid totaled $57,465, so the refund is 9.16% of our premiums. These refunds are the result of payroll expenses related to non-working hours. They include overtime, call-out pay, call-back pay, inclement weather pay, sick leave, vacation leave, holiday, and administrative leave pay. The report reflected $324,827 of adjustments, or 11.71% of total wages paid for the year. The information shared in this audit shows just how much of the city's payroll expenses are paid as benefit or non-working hours. It's a good reminder of how generous our benefits are. If you're interested in any more detail regarding this report or workers' compensation in general, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm not going to cover the audit stuff because we went over that in detail tonight. I have again completed the required project and expenditure reporting to the U.S. Treasury in relation to the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. That's the SLFRF fund. I think some of you have heard me botch that acronym several times. The city received these dollars in 2020 and 2021. The online portal opened April 1st with the reporting due no later than April 30th. We've previously reported all $633,322.50 received as reimbursement of municipal employee salary and wage expenses, and we claimed the standard revenue loss under 10 million allowance, which provided major simplification in meeting compliance and regulatory responsibilities. I think I said the same thing last year. I'm surprised that we're still required to report annually, but we are. I'm hoping that Treasury will take the necessary steps to close out the awards that have been fully reported and eliminate the reporting requirements, as the steps are cumbersome to just report zeros. Today by 5 p.m. was your last day to register to vote. I hope you did. Absentee ballots for both the municipal and school board election are available now at City Hall through June 2nd. So if you're interested in getting your vote done early, please stop in and see us during business hours. We talked a little bit already about the number of ordinances identified by various committees as needing revisions. It was reported in the admin finance report, but just so you know, those changes did not come from that committee. The majority of the changes have come from various committees and employees requesting the changes. So we have a number of them we're working on. I was glad to hear some feedback tonight that may change some of the ones that we're working on. It's better to make those changes before we have the readings of the ordinance. So I'm glad to hear that we're talking about those things now. We're also getting close to our 2026 budget planning meetings. It sounds like the overwhelming dates for the meetings will be Tuesday, July 29th and Thursday, July 31st. You remember the meetings start at 5 and they can last several hours. If needed, we do plan additional meetings. If there's anybody that doesn't like that date, please let me know, but the feedback I've heard so far is that those are the dates that are going to work, so that's what we're going to move forward with our planning on. And since she's here, this is even funner. I'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank Ariel for her artistic efforts to decorate the front window of City Hall in honor of the Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce's Salute to Valor Festival to be held over the upcoming Memorial Day weekend. The Chamber invited all Hot Springs businesses to show their patriotic spirit by creating a red, white, and blue display. They announced that in their weekly Spring Tides publication, and Ariel jumped at the opportunity. She voluntarily took on this project, completing it on her own time and outside of regular business hours, all without being asked. Her creativity and initiative not only brought a vibrant and festive look to our building, but also reflected true community spirit. When I asked her what inspired her to participate, she simply said, "I want to win the contest." Participation in community events helps strengthen our connections with local organizations, foster civic pride, and shows that City Hall is not just an institution, but an engaged and enthusiastic part of Hot Springs. Regardless of the contest outcome, Ariel's contribution deserves our sincere thanks and recognition for going above and beyond. So please join me in thanking her if you see fit.
Speech.
It looks beautiful. Yeah, it looks really good. And just one thing not on the reports, we're looking at dates to canvass the election results. We have to have a special meeting within 10 days of the election. And so I'm looking at Monday, June 9th or Tuesday, the 10th. Last year we did it on the Monday at 9 a.m. at the Mueller Center. So if anybody has any objections or problems with those dates, probably Monday, June 9th at 9 a.m. is what I'm leaning towards, so let me know what works for you. On the financial reports themselves, besides what I mentioned earlier about the red, I don't really have anything that I draw your attention to, but if there is anything that concerns you in any of those financial reports, please don't hesitate to ask me about them. Thank you, Mayor.
Any questions for Misty? Some may think that the busy time of year for finance ends once the audit is finished. It's just the beginning of the busy time of the year. As we've talked a little bit about, the budget hearings will be coming up. I'm taking a little different approach that I hope will work this year as far as the budgets. Now that finance is done with the audit, I'm asking Misty and Jacqueline to get together with the department heads and begin working on their budgets as we always have. Individually, they can, figure out what they want to put in front of council. The other thing that I've asked them to do this year is we're going to sit down as a group after everybody has finalized their proposed budget, their draft budget, and just sit down and talk about it as a family so everybody understands that it's easy to be laser focused on your own budget without worrying at all about how that may impact the other departments. But I think it's important for everybody to understand the bigger picture. And as a group, as department heads, finance, city administration, and myself, put a budget in front of you folks that is as streamlined as we can make it. This year isn't going to be any easier than the past years. We've always had a balanced budget, but we've had it at the expense of taking money out of savings. And we've got to figure out a better way to do that. I think that the budgets council has approved have been appropriate to correct some things that needed to be improved as far as purchasing equipment that just wasn't going to live another year. So I think you've made good decisions, but this year is going to be a little tougher. I just wanted to give you a heads up that we'll start working on those, but we are going to take a different approach this year. We're going to sit down as a family and see what kind of budget we want to present to you folks. Hopefully we've got it cut to the point where you don't have to. That's being optimistic or delusional, but that's the approach we're going to take this year. That's all I have for you. Do you have any questions? All right, going to get a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I'd like to say something before we adjourn. This Saturday, we're having the Valor Parade through town. I'd like to put an invite out to all Native American veterans that are men or women. You can contact me through the City Hall. If you call them, get my phone number. We're going to have a float. The Native Americans are going to have a float with a teepee, and they're going to have young drummers on it. Going to try to get two royalty from the reservation, young and old royalty, to sit on the float. I'd like to see Native veterans show up for this event to show that we're also participated in the freedom that we have today. So, thank you.
What time is that parade?
The meeting will be, I think the parade's at 1, but we'll be meeting over at the Plunge around 12:30. But if anybody can get a hold of me, I can direct you to the people, and they can tell you more about it.
So is the lineup going to start down by the Plunge?
Yes.
Okay.
They got an old-timer seat, and I think they want to put me in the pickup.
All right, anyone else before we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Have a good evening, everyone.
Audit is not.
Okay.
Audit is not, yes. It's, you know, the hard part with, the challenging part about technology is keeping up with it. So to Misty's point, our portal changed here a year ago.
2
years
maybe?
ago now.
Yeah, this is the second
This is
year.
the second year. And so the firm has had the same time program for probably nearly 40 years. And so we're actually changing internally, our firm is changing that. Well, the communication tool, the portal that goes along with the tax side is changing with it because it's a packaged software. So you saw communications related to our tax side of our operations in terms of their side of things is changing.
Okay.
Yep.
But
all
audit's
trying to-
staying the same?
Well, audit is staying
For
the
now.
same. Yes, and so, but it's, the big thing is security, right? We're dealing with a lot of personal and business financial data, so it's making sure that we've got all the proper security in place. And so that's why it's a big deal to go through those changes. So, but yes, that's part of our process, so thank you for the assistance. In terms of new or different for the city for the year ending December 31, 2024, there was a new accounting standard. It's called GASB 101, so it's Government Accounting Standards Board sets the accounting standards for how you account for your financial information. The last time that the standard relates to compensated absences, so think PTO, vacation, sick leave, those types of things. The last time it changed was GASB 16, which was in the 1990s. So needless to say, the standard in how entities account for compensated absences had been the same for a very long period of time, even though operations have changed in that period of time. So, and the biggest change was that in the past, agencies basically recorded accrued leave as a liability for the portion that they expected to pay out. So if an entity paid out their vacation at 50% of what somebody had accrued at the point of termination, and sick leave wasn't paid out at all, they just accrued for the vacation fees. And so it was just a portion of it. What the standard changed was not only do you still accrue for that, what you anticipate paying out, but also what you anticipate an employee using. And so you're like, how do you go about that? How much is somebody going to use? Well, they just say use historical estimates. So what we did in the case of the city of Hot Springs is we took all of your employees prior 3 years and what they used, created an average for all the employees and said on average, people use X hours of vacation or PTO. And then use that to create an estimate of what you envision going forward. And so you'll see as we go through the financial statements that you did increase your liability a little bit, but it was to basically comply with the new accounting standard. So that was the one new and different thing. Otherwise, from an operational standpoint, you still had a lot of capital projects going on. We had a similar conversation a year ago. But I'll touch on a couple highlights in the actual financials themselves. I'm sure you have copies of them, correct? In their packets.
They were all emailed to them. I did not print out the draft.
I just want to make sure that they've all had a chance to see it, so I'm going to touch on a few highlights. If you are following along or want to, I'll just indicate page numbers as I go. Page 3 is the actual auditor's report.
If I may, we had 3 documents.
Okay, I'm
to
sorry,
review.
yep.
Which
Very
one?
valid. I appreciate
Which one are
that
you in?
question. So it's the actual financial statements themselves.
One with a cover sheet?
There's a couple of cover sheets, but the one that says financial statements and independent auditors report.
50-page document?
Big one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. So page 3 of that is our auditor's report. It basically, the second paragraph is the overall results of the audit. It says that the financial statements are fairly presented in all mature respects for the year ending December 31, 2024. And that is what we call a clean, unmodified opinion. If we had an issue, if there was an exception, or what we call a qualified opinion, it would say everything was fairly stated except for, and it would list out something. Or if we couldn't get to adequate information, it would say something different, like we were unable to complete the audit. So this is what you want to receive as a result of an audit process. The report then goes on to say what's the basis for our opinion, what's the responsibility of management. Page 4 then continues to talk through what's our responsibilities as auditors. It even bullet points out what we do during the audit process. We have to exercise professional judgment. We have to identify where there's risks in an entity, and based on those risks, develop audit procedures. We have to understand your internal controls. We'll talk about that more in the end. We have to evaluate the appropriateness of your accounting policies. I mentioned GASB 101, that's an accounting policy, so we're making sure you're following all the new standards. The paragraph under those bullet points says that we have to communicate with those charged with governance. That's why I'm here tonight, is to accomplish that part of it. As a part of the accounting standard, there's some what they call required supplementary information that's not presented and that we haven't presented for years, but it doesn't impact how this presents here. And then the last paragraph says that we did do the audit in accordance with government audit standards, and we have a separate report on that, which I'll touch on at the end. So page 5 starts the actual financial information. Again, not going through these details because there's 50 pages here, but just touching on a couple highlights. This page 5 and page 6 are a presentation of the financial information of the city in terms of its entire operation. So it includes all of your governmental funds, all of your business type activities in one place. You do have separate columns for those two different categories, but it shows all of your assets, all of your liabilities, and what's the net position of the city. So that kind of allows someone to see the overall operations of the city and its position at 2024. Page 6 then is the same thought process in terms of the overall city, but this shows the revenues and expenses. You know, for 2024 in total, you had revenues exceeding expense by 1.8 million. You're going to see this, what would be the third to last line there. It says adoption of accounting standard, $16,093. That's GASB 101. So we had to go back and treat it as if that standard was in place as of 12/31/2023, and so the increase or the change in your accrued leave would have been $16,000 if the standard had applied a year ago, and so that's what that's doing. But if you were to look at a prior financial statement, that line would be really different, so just a heads up on that. Page 7 then starts your governmental funds financial statements. This again is going to be the balance sheet, so it's going to show the assets and liabilities. Nothing significantly unusual here to note. If we go to page 10, 10 and 11 are going to show the revenues of the various governmental funds, and then 12 and 13 are going to show the expenses. If you were to look at 12 and 13 and what would be the third to last line on that particular statement, you're going to note that you had about $1 million, well, I would say loss, but expenses exceeded revenues in the general fund. And that was basically, to look a couple lines above, and you can see a transfer out for $1 million. I mean, that was basically to cover costs that were incurred related to several capital projects during 2024. So if we go then down the remaining fund columns, if you get to the Hot Springs Capital Improvement Fund, you're going to see a transfer in of $1.5 million, and that fund still experienced a $664,000 loss where expenses exceeded revenue. All of this was intended based on these capital projects that you had planned. You've received grant funding in the past for them. They just basically were completed, and the expenditures happened in 2024. So that's kind of they're bigger numbers, but that was the intention. So there was the suspended sidewalk project, a bridge, you caught a loader and a plow. I mean, you just had a lot going on in 2024 in terms of capital activity. So then if we go to page 15, this is the statement in that position, but this is your proprietary funds. Again, this is going to show 15 and 16 are going to show you the assets of those funds. 17 and 18 are going to show the liabilities. And then on pages 19 and 20, or just 19, I guess, well, 19 and 20, if you get up to all of the different funds, that shows the revenue and expenses. Again, that same thought process. Now it's the fourth line from the bottom. If you were to look at all of your proprietary funds, all of those had positive, where revenue exceeded expense for 2024. And then, just like we saw in the government-wide statement, the second to last line there. It says adoption of accounting standard. In your proprietary funds, you actually show the accrued leave balance, and so each one of those funds had a portion of the accrued leave that it accounted for, and it was about a $10,000 increase in the accrued leave balance for those proprietary funds for the impact of that standard. Page 23 then starts the notes. These are going to be identical to what we've seen in the past and what we talked about. It supports how all of your information is accounted for. I am going to touch on just a couple of highlights, a lot of data here. So then on, what is page 30, you're going to see on that page what is the third paragraph. It says adopted accounting standard, and this talks through GASB 101 and just talks through what does that standard do. As I mentioned, it changed how compensated admins are accounted for. Under that particular disclosure, there's an emerging accounting standards, and it basically indicates that there's a GASB 102, 103, and 104 that'll have to be applied in your upcoming years, 2025, 26, in terms of those new standards. Not a ton of change in any one of those, mainly related to disclosures in terms of what's in the notes. A little bit of change in the presentation of the proprietary funds, but we'll address those as those years come. The rest of this disclosures are consistent on page 33. That long-term debt note, there is a line in the bullet points there for compensated absences. And this is where, if you were to compare, all of this has been adjusted for the impact of GASB 101. If you were to compare to last year's statements, it would match in terms of the beginning balance, because we had to adjust for that. And so that's what the asterisk says, is that the beginning balances for compensated absences were restated for the adoption of GASB 101. So we applied all of that to that disclosure. The rest of it talks through your changes in your long-term debt, your changes in your capital assets. Like I said, there was a volume of activity there. Every year when I come, I talk through note 10 in terms of the pension plan. Again, as a reminder, you're a part of the South Dakota retirement system. Every agency in the state that participates in the plan is supposed to record their share of the liability or asset. Thankfully, in the state of South Dakota, the plan is fully funded. It was fully funded at 100%, almost exactly. So there's a small asset that's recorded, $3,269. You don't have access to that asset, but it is recorded. Majority of the states across the country are in a liability situation. We do some governments for the surrounding states in Wyoming and North Dakota, and I can tell you the liabilities they record are pretty substantial. So we can be very pleased that South Dakota has a fully funded plan. So that's the notes. Page 45 then is that audit report that we issue when we do an audit in accordance with government audit standards. And basically it says that as a part of the process, we do take a look at your internal controls and report on any matters that come to our attention. And so on page 47, we have two findings, one for financial prep, that this basically just states that the financial statements that I just went through are prepared by us. We're not suggesting a change. I'm down to one client that prepares their own. We just don't have many that do. Agencies don't hire someone in-house with the standards. I mean, I talked about GASB 101. We talked about the impact just on lease statements. We already have 102, 103, and 104 that'll be coming up. So it's just, agencies don't have the ability to have someone in-house keep up with all of these changes. So we're not suggesting a change. I don't think anybody's come back, Misty, and said anything from a lending or
Never.
Granting agency standpoint. So, I mean, we don't anticipate any issues with that. The second one relates to audit adjustments. We did post a couple of little things. We do also record that South Dakota retirement entry every year as a part of our process. We're just letting you know that we do that. Again, not suggesting a change. So then the last two pages indicate that those are the same two findings that we had a year ago, and that at the end of the day, you feel like you have adequate review processes in place based on the financial statements that we have. That is the audit process and the audit results in a nutshell. Questions? I know it's so exciting.
Is there anything in the audit that you did that jumped out at you and said, hello, what is this that we need to be worried about?
No, if there was, we report it.
And then secondly, other cities our size, how do we fare with how their operations are being done?
You know, for a city of the size of Hot Springs, I would say you have, the one thing I will say in terms of, and that if you were to look at comparable cities, the one thing that you would note is what's not in our report, and that's a finding related to internal controls. So if we felt like there was lack of segregation of duties or a process that just wasn't, to your point, maybe the way it should be in terms of having adequate review, we would report that. And you would see in a majority of smaller communities in South Dakota, just based on, and nothing against them and nothing that they're doing wrong, they just don't have the manpower to be able to separate all the duties. And so they've chosen to, based on cost and just availability of people, not to do anything different, but they have reviews in place to make them feel comfortable. But there is, on a day-to-day basis, a lack of segregation of duties. So what you don't see is, a noteworthy item is what's omitted, I guess. So.
Thank you.
Well, this is my 7th audit, and it's almost a 7th rerun with 1 or 2 minor exceptions where we had, I think, maybe a department that had gone over or something, so good
Not
job.
This year. We didn't have one this year. Last year we did, but
Yeah.
this year we.
So it's been very consistent audit readouts and findings, so.
Yeah, part of,
the other thing that
yeah, part of that goes with having this relationship that's been built up over all those years as well, because we know what they expect and they're very open and clear if there's something that's changing, and bring it to us in plenty of time to ensure that we remain compliant where we can.
There was a recent, I don't even know how to couch the type of television show, but in which a municipal government where the finance office had embezzled something like $40 million from a fairly, it was larger community than us, but it's, and my question was, where in the heck was the audit process? And as the investigative report went on, I think there was, I don't know, I don't think they'd either done an audit, I can't remember the specifics, but the audit process keeps us above board, above ground, so if somebody, and I've seen comments on Facebook that just absolutely aggravate me about how the city handles the finances. Well, here's how the city handles the finances. They are transparent. Twice a month when we have our meetings, every expenditure, you know, whether it's a $1.50 purchase is there. It's viewed by council.
Published in the paper.
It's categorized. There's none of these things that Doge has been finding about no line item designation on purchases. So things are transparent. Things are proper. They align with the accounting standards. They align with what the state says, how we ought to be classifying expenditures. So I think, you know, we're proud of what the finance office is doing. We're proud of what the city's doing because it is proper, it is transparent. And we're in pretty good shape.
For the shape we're in.
And I would ask you to share those same comments when we're on camera, when we're being recorded.
Yeah, word for word.
Were you going to go over the others? I know the mayor had a very valid question related to some of the attachments in the communication charge, communication with those charged with governance.
Okay.
And it's just really, Mayor, I could let you say it, but around the language about misstatements. And I had luckily already had a good conversation with Jordan about these. But Mayor, did you want to share your questions, or were you going to talk about these other ones, Tracy, at all?
If there's questions, I can certainly cover them. The communication with those charged with governance is just a summary of the fact that we did an audit and kind of what the processes are within that audit. It talks through whether we had disagreements with management, which we didn't. It talks through did we make adjustments. We've already talked about that we did. I think the reference that you're referring to, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, it talks to what the risks are.
It's the past adjustments primarily.
Okay.
And that it says misstatement, but it's really not something we're not stating.
Right, and so what happens during the audit process and what a past adjustment is that inevitably when we go through the audit process, we might come across things that aren't perfect, I guess, is what you would argue. So we know that it's not exactly right, but to take the time and the effort to adjust it isn't warranted from a cost-benefit standpoint, both for the city in terms of its size and for us in terms of the audit process.
When the net effect is zero anyway,
Right.
it's just a
And so
recording.
That's where we just, under our standards, it tells us we have to use thresholds, right? So it'll give us dollar thresholds to say, okay, is something deemed to be trivial, and that we just don't have to do anything from a documentation standpoint other than saying it's trivial? Or does it exceed that and we at least have to accumulate those things, those items, and then assess them as a whole? Because the risk from an audit perspective is that we have a lot of little things that accumulate to be a bigger thing. And that's the point of the past adjustments, is that we accumulate those little things, and at the end of the day, we land on, as from a management and an audit perspective, say, you know what, overall, these aren't significant, they net out, they have no substantial impact from a financial perspective decision-making process, and so we're going to pass on them. And we always make that conscious decision. And some of it relates to just the time and effort involved with making some of those is challenging because it just doesn't make sense how it affects your accounting system, us to post it. It becomes more of a record-keeping process than anything, and so that's why we make those decisions not to.
And
so that's what it does.
To be clear, they don't recommend we do anything differently either. They just need to report it to you. So if you don't understand it, feel free to ask questions, but it's not necessarily a misstatement or something being reported incorrectly. Or else you'd know about that. If there was some significant amount that wasn't reported or recorded, that would be a different.
Mainly comes down to timing differences, if I remember correctly, so.
When I was talking with Misty today in the document, communications with those charged with governance. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages 6 through 12, different sections. They talk about current year misstatements. And when you hear the word misstatement, it's like,
That's, like I said, these little amounts that we're identifying where, yes, you could argue, okay, this balance doesn't match this, but they net to zero, they offset each other. And like, from an administrative standpoint, we're landing on big picture, we don't need to post them, both based on our standards and based on communication with management. Because that's the other thing, is even if we deemed it, hey, we could pass on it from an audit risk perspective, we're still going to discuss with management, hey, we know this doesn't quite match up and probably could be accounted for just slightly differently. And they're going to make a judgment call to say, you know what, no, we're going to leave it as is, because by the time we go through all this effort, we're going to have more invested in doing it than just leaving it alone.
And one page is a summary and all those other pages are how it affects each fund.
Yes,
So
that's the other hard
it
part.
looks like a lot, but it's a lot of the same thing.
It's a lot of the same numbers, and so just to help you understand that, from an audit perspective, we have to treat a city operation almost as separate little operations. So if you think of your water fund, your general fund, those are little mini audits. So we have several opinion units, is what they call it from an audit standard standpoint. And so it'd be like us doing 10 different business audits. And so we have different thresholds for each one. That's why you see that many pages, is we have to assess each one separately. And does it impact the presentation of that water fund and the city as a whole? And so we have to break that down. So, but valid question in terms of the why.
It feels like we're managing 11 or 12 different little businesses too.
pardon my being rude, we're 5 minutes away from the council meeting. I'm going to take a pause before we get started on the longer one.
Does anybody else have any questions for her before we wrap up? Once again, thank you for all your work. We really appreciate working with your firm. Your employees were excellent to work with again.